Canelo versus Bivol, and this is my post-fight thoughts, some of them, because I'm not going to be able to get in everything that I want to talk about in this video. I didn't have time to do a live today, but I wanted to get my thoughts out there on Canelo versus Bivol and the upset that happened on Saturday night, because as far as the betting odds, as far as what many of us, despite what people are going to tell you, because I know you're going to have people coming out the woodwork saying they pick Bivol, but you just didn't have that many people percentage-wise picking Bivol leading up to this fight. And I put myself in this. I picked Canelo to beat Bivol. I think we did boxing a disservice by undervaluing Bivol by as much as we did. I mean, Vegas got this off big time. I mean, they were way off on this. Bivol was a heavy underdog. He was plus 700 to win by decision, plus 750 to win by stoppage. Huge underdog. We undervalued him coming in. I had the fight 117, 111 on my scorecard. And I thought the only rounds that I decisively had for Canelo were rounds 3 and 9. I thought actually you could have scored 10 rounds for Bivol in this fight. Just a dominating masterclass performance by Bivol. And you had back-to-back weekends where you had great defensive performances by Shakur Stevenson and Dimitri Bivol. The two best defensive fighters statistically in boxing. Dimitri Bivol, only 12% of shots land against him. Only 13% of punches thrown land against Shakur Stevenson. So Dimitri Bivol is now the best defensive fighter in the sport of boxing statistically. And it showed on Saturday night. My thinking coming in was Bivol, much like Plant, much like Billy Joe Saunders, would have success early in the fight. So looking at the scorecards halfway through the fight, you would say, oh, this is a close fight. But you would start to see the tide change each round as Canelo throws power shots and digs into the body and hits those arms and gets his opponent to drop those arms. He would land more shots upstairs, then they would lift their arms, and then he would go back downstairs. He would use his levels that he does. He would take away Bivol's height and reach advantage and turn it into a disadvantage, which Canelo does against taller fighters. Canelo loves fighting taller fighters, which is one of the reasons he has had no problem moving up weight classes. He loves getting inside of that range. He loves getting inside the jab and then going to work. Problem in this fight was Bivol pumped the jab, kept it in Canelo's face throughout 12 rounds, which was tough to envision coming in because you envisioned, many of us did, I put myself in this, Canelo doing what he does, and about halfway through the fight, he takes away your best weapon, which in this case for Bivol would be the jab. He gets inside of it, and then everything works inside out. Suddenly, your 4-inch reach advantage turns into a disadvantage or height advantage. And then your 2-inch reach advantage works as a disadvantage to you. That didn't happen. And it didn't happen because Bivol consistently led with that jab, used it as an offensive mechanism, but it also works as a defensive mechanism because it keeps Canelo at range. And he has to do so much work to get on the inside. And he's having to throw punches out of range, and he's missing with those punches. And then another thing Bivol does, which is defensive boxing. And this is what people miss when we talk about defensive boxing, because part of defensive boxing is countering. A lot of people don't consider that defensive fighting because it's considered offense, throwing a punch. But what Erislandy Lara did not do against Canelo was he did not finish up his defense by countering. Bivol did. Every time Canelo landed those shots on Bivol's arm, if Canelo lands a right hook on Bivol's arm, Bivol picks it off with his arm, and it's automatically a mechanism to throw that left counter hook. And you could tell they were working on that in the gym leading up to this fight. You could just tell. Because every time Canelo would tap that arm, boom, automatically, mechanism to land that counter. Same thing on the other side, boom, counter. He kept countering those arm punches. And Canelo's so used to guys, when Canelo hits that arm, to drop their arms. Their arms get tired. They don't want to throw punches anymore. They don't want to get hit in the same spot in the arm anymore. And Canelo has used that to his advantage throughout his career because those power punches land hard on the arms too. Not only do they hurt when they hit your face and your body, they hurt when they hit your arm too. They may not be scoring punches, but they hurt. And guys don't want to get hit in their arms anymore. And they adjust. And one of the adjustments is drop the arms and then they get hit in the face. And Bivol did not do that. Bivol kept those arms up. He stayed disciplined. Canelo kept trying to back up into the ropes and lower Bivol in. You kept seeing him wave Bivol in. And Bivol said, no, come back to the middle of the ring. And at that point, I could tell, because Reynoso told Canelo in the corner, do not go in the ropes. But you can tell Canelo was not comfortable with the game plan at that point when he immediately went back to the ropes. He was not comfortable with the fight in the center of the ring like he normally is. So he backs up into the ropes, and Bivol, being the disciplined fighter that he is, he kept the fight on his own terms. He went in, he would throw a three-punch combination, but then would back right out about a foot. And then Canelo would wave him back in, and he landed another three-punch combination. And Canelo could not find the spots to counter because Bivol is throwing everything from his hip and then immediately coming right back to the hip. And then anytime Canelo tries to counter, Bivol counters right back. It was just a masterclass performance altogether. And I'm going to have a lot to say about this fight, and because I still think Canelo is, what he's been doing is special. I'll have a lot to talk about on pound for pound list, how I view that, because you don't take away, just off of this loss, you don't take away from everything Canelo's been doing. Canelo has been carrying this sport the past year and a half, been carrying it. And he's been lapping his predecessors at the top of the pound for pound list who haven't been fighting, who haven't been active, who have only been fighting once a year. Canelo's been lapping him. But Bivol had his number on Saturday night, and I would argue that if these guys fight again and again, Canelo would have problems each time out because Bivol is just a stylistic nightmare. And guys have those guys. Like, you have a lot of fighters who are great. They're great. They're greater than Fighter B, but Fighter B may have their numbers stylistically. And they just can't beat Fighter B head to head. Bivol may be that guy for Canelo. I'm interested to see if there is a rematch, what Canelo's adjustments will be. Because there are adjustments he can make, but I doubt that he can consistently execute a game plan for 12 rounds that could give Bivol issues and even up the score. And the scorecards, to me, it was frustrating to watch. I don't see how you could give, all three judges had the first 4 rounds for Canelo. And I had the first 4 rounds, 3 rounds to 1 for Bivol. I don't understand how all 3 judges could have the first 4 rounds for Bivol in this fight. For Canelo in this fight. I don't understand how you can do that. And if you look at the scorecards, Bivol had to win the 12th round to keep the fight from a draw. I don't know what world those judges are living in. I can't envision a scenario where you could be watching that fight unbiased and have that. It makes me question whether ulterior motives, whether there was some funny stuff going on when I see that. But Bivol, great performance, great defensive performance. He just had it all. Not only was he leading with the jab, landing combination punches, but the defensive fighting that he executed for 12 rounds against a masterful power puncher, a great combination puncher. Canelo is a great combination fighter, throws great combination punches, offensive machine, and Bivol completely neutralized him to where Canelo landed 7 punches per round on average. Just think about that, man. Just amazing. Amazing. And Bivol showed himself to the world on Saturday night because we wondered coming in what Bivol are we going to see. We've watched Bivol fight over the years and said it just doesn't seem like this guy's going to get out of third gear. It seems like he coasts. If he does that against Canelo and doesn't show a killer instinct, then he may be in trouble. He showed all that on Saturday night. Full fighter, complete fighter, great performance. I have more to say on this, but I just wanted to get out my thoughts and say great performance by Bivol. Props.